Start the recording. I will allow the microphones, but please be mindful with this thing. Okay. And I will say that we can start. So hello everyone. My name is Alejandra and I'm gonna be today's moderator of this panel. I will start by sharing my screen with you, although I like seeing some faces, but I will share the screen so we get in the mood. I hope that you can see it. And okay, no problem if you lose connection. There's no issue. As I was saying, this will be recorded. So in case you are missing any part of it, then you will be able to retake on that. So welcome everyone. Today is the third panel of the ECOPRISE course. I assume most of you are here because you are taking the course in the different countries that we are implementing it. Maybe not. Maybe you were invited by someone else. So it's also a pleasure to have you here with us. Basically, within this course of future-oriented social entrepreneurship through eco-village design and the permaculture ethics, we are hosting a series of panels. This is the third one on the core topics of the course. And today's topic is related to the environmental dimension of the entrepreneurship, particularly to the renewable energies. So we will be together 1 hour or so, talking with some experts on this topic. Wait, there's more people coming, and I will let everyone in. So as I was saying, this is the third panel, and we will be talking about renewable energies. Today we will discuss about these three main topics in a very different and complex ways, but we will have some amazing guests and speakers that will help us to discuss about this. So we will talk about agrivoltaics, which maybe some of you already heard or not. This will be the opportunity to discover them together with a great expert on the topic. We will talk also about urban energy efficiency and smart management, and we will talk about governance models for energy and at urban scales. And then we will talk also about renewable energies in the sense of energy communities and collective ownership and some other governance models. I will keep admitting people that are coming. And okay, so as I was saying before, I won't be alone talking about this. We will have three amazing guests that are here today with us. We have Simone, and he is an expert in the fields of agrivoltaics in the energy transition process, and he helps farms in the development of advanced agrivoltaics, at least in Italy. And he's the founder and president of iGreen systems that he later will explain who they are, what they do, and what is this agrivoltaics things. And also, iGreen system is partner of the Italian Association for Sustainable Agrivoltaics, as also we are as LAND. We have also with us Giuseppe Ruta. He's a researcher at the University of Naples, Federico II, and industrial engineering, and he will be talking about building energy efficiency, climate resilience, and urban sustainability. And last but not least, we have Marcello, and he's a PhD in student in ecological transition at the University of Palermo, and he has worked as consultant on previous energy poverty projects, climate adaptation, and energy communities, which is now what he's currently researching and studying. They will have some minutes later to introduce themselves, but I also, since I'm the one introducing these parts right now, I wanted to take like a few minutes to talk about LAND, who we are, who am I, and why are we hosting this panel. So this is us, part of us, because we are a pretty small team, but some colleagues are missing in this picture. Nice picture that we took last summer, I think. We are a social enterprise. We are based in Sicily, in the south of Italy. We've been active for the past 3 years, and we work for the ecological transition and we work for preserving the value of local territory and strengthen local communities. We do it through a lot of different instruments. One of our main instruments is European finance projects, also international finance projects. But we do on environmental education on very different levels. We work with the very young ones, with the schools, building microforests and helping them understanding recycling, environmental education, and so on. We also work with universities. We work with vocational educational trainers. We work with adults. We deal with a lot of topics from twin transition to yeah, sustainable management of waste. So we do a lot of things. But the other thing that also brought us to talk about agrivoltaics is that we have a plant of agrivoltaics near the airport Palermo that will be later explained by our very beloved friends of iGreen, which were the ones designing and helping us construct and build this idea and this project. So just for you to know who we are and what we do, for us, it's very important also the social part of the twin transition, of the ecological transition. So it's something also that we incorporate in our daily job, and it's something that we will also be talking about today. So I'm quickly checking the chat to see if there's any issue or any question. I feel there's not. So before giving the floor to Simone, which will be the first speaker introducing himself and presenting part of the topics of renewable energies that we will be talking today, I wanted to remind you why is this incorporated in the course of EcoPrize, and why is it necessary, or at least we consider necessary, to rethink about renewable energies. So if you remember, most of you, I imagine, have already studied the first module of the second module, the first unit, which is connected to the renewable energies. And in this unit and in this module in general, we talk about what are the advantages, where are the types of renewable energy sources, and what is the potential. So we see a lot of potential in using renewable energy sources. But of course, there are also some challenges that we cannot ignore. So we know that the field of renewable energies has been pretty active during, at least during the last decade, and it was supposed that its use will bring us to a different new climate scenario, especially talking about emissions, where some pollution problems were supposed to be fixed by now by the use of these alternatives. However, we know that this is not the reality. Keep admitting people. 1 second. Welcome everyone. We are with the introduction of the panel. Hope that you can hear and see everything clearly. So as I was saying, we know that we were expecting much of a change with the use of these renewable energies. However, it wasn't like the scientific community imagined. So this was due to different reasons. For example, that the use of renewable energies is not so extended yet, that fossil fuels are still a very powerful industry where there's a lot of economic interest and in play. And also because the idea of limiting energy demand to the levels of which we can produce at planetary levels may be not something that we are discussing publicly yet. So it's not considered yet. So we are right now in this scenario in which we know renewable energy sources are pretty important, but they are not developing as much as they should, or they are not being used as much as they should. Of course, we will open the floor for discussion on this topic later. So if you remember when you were studying this module, there were some advantages that were mentioned. For example, that they are lower maintenance requirements, that they can reduce our bills of the need for electricity. They have a lot of environmental benefits because they are not so extractivism oriented, and they can help us to decrease our energy consumption. They can strengthen countries' energetic independency, which is pretty important in the context of global conflicts and crises that we are now living. Since they are an innovative sector, they can create a lot of jobs and they can contribute to the decrease of waste and pollution. So there's a lot of advantages in using renewable energies. We know that. But there are also some disadvantages that we cannot ignore. So, especially the social impact that they've been set to have in some territories. So one of the disadvantages is that first they require significant investments. We will talk about this actually, and maybe there are some new models of organization that we can take to decrease these investments or like make it more accessible to everyone. But in general, renewable energy sources, they require some previous investments. They are intermittent in the sense they depend on natural phenomena. So when there's no sun, when there's no wind, when there's no water, if we need these resources to provide energy and we don't have them, maybe because some geographic limitations, our territories don't have these resources, not enough. Maybe with the present climate crisis, we also see that like maybe we are missing water or we are missing sun. So that's an issue. There's very limited storage capabilities. They are not always fully carbon free. And another issue is that they can be very land demanding in the sense there is an impact that we cannot deny when we are establishing, for example, a photovoltaics or like a wind turbine in a place, in a territory. And actually, I chose this picture to start this conversation. This it's in Italian. It's in an Italian village, and they say no to photovoltaics. Put the panels on the roofs and keep the agriculture, the farming on the fields. So these are the two worlds that right now we know that renewable energies can be very land demanding. They need the territory to put the technology on, and this can affect the communities. But however, not everything is black and white, and we will see during this session that a lot of things can be done, and then new approaches have emerged from this, also taking into consideration these impacts and trying to minimize them so we can keep using renewable energies in a way that it's positive for the consumers and for the planet itself. And for now, this is my opening and this is my introduction, and I will leave the floor first to Simone if he wants to introduce them himself, if he wants to also open the conversation about agrivoltaics and what iGreen does in these regards. Ciao Simone.
Ciao, buongiorno.
Hello.
Hello to everybody. Mi aiuti tu, Alejandra, con
Certo,
l'inglese?
certo. I will help him with the English. So I know we have some Italians here. They will understand perfectly, but if not, I will translate. No, not a problem.
Okay, thank you. So nice to meet you to everybody. I try to do my best, but I don't speak English so good. Provo a condividere il mio schermo,
Certo,
Alejandra.
sì, sì. Dammi un attimo che... Ok, tolgo il mio e già puoi.
Vado. Ditemi quando si vede.
Lo stiamo vedendo.
Ok.
Vediamo la presentazione pure con le note. Ok, se la metti dall'inizio. Perfetto.
Okay. So I try to explain the land project with few and simple words to people don't work in our field. But a few words about our company that is can call a startup because we founded this company about 3 years ago, but we have experience from 20 years in photovoltaic field and agriculture. So our company that is iGreen System that work is an EPC contractor is founded from our old company, Romagna Impianti and Ecoenergia, that decided to use our skills to can develop real agrivoltaics project. And this is our main solution. Here I can chiedo aiuto a te, Alejandra, qui perché è
Sì,
più
sì, sì.
difficile. E quello che voglio dire è un po' no, la panoramica questa delle possibili soluzioni che ci possono essere ad oggi e possono essere associate all'agrivoltaico
Mhm.
Tendenzialmente le ultime due a destra sono quelle, no, che ormai tutti quanti fanno, quindi quello basso che intervalla i filari dai pannelli, mentre le due a sinistra, di cui la prima a sinistra è come la vostra, sono
Mhm.
quelle che per noi come per voi sono il vero agrivoltaico, quindi questo è un po'
Ok.
seguito, giusto fargli
Ok,
capire.
fermo un attimo che devo tradurre questa cosa. So he's saying this is the overview and this is the choices that you have when talking about agrivoltaics because not every plant is the same, not every technology works the same. So for now, if you look to the right of your screen, those two are the most common ones that you can find right now. However, those to the left a sinistra, no? Sono le nostre, sì.
Yes.
Those to the left are more similar to the ones that our land is implementing. And the difference, it's also regarding the height of agrivoltaics. That's why we call them elevated agrivoltaics. Right.
Okay, and we see later the land project. Few words about our algorithm, the SS. So we have developed cioè abbiamo sviluppato un algoritmo, una piattaforma Alejandra proprietaria, grazie alla quale è possibile gestire l'impianto e muovere i pannelli dando priorità ai vostri limoni in questo caso e quindi non solo seguendo il sole dalla mattina alla sera per produrre quanta più energia elettrica possibile, come invece fanno gli impianti fotovoltaici normali e diciamo i finti agrivoltaici, quindi chi
Mhm.
applica le soluzioni di destra che abbiamo visto prima, ma che in realtà ha interesse solo a produrre energia. Quindi è molto importante, secondo me, far comprendere anche ai colleghi che sono qui collegati che il vostro impianto nasce non solo in termini di altezza, distanze, spazi, come vero agrivoltaico, ma anche con la possibilità di gestire l'impianto dando priorità alle esigenze delle vostre piante. E
Sì.
questo lo facciamo con il nostro algoritmo proprietario, anche questo unico in Italia, come il vostro impianto.
Okay, so what he was saying is that they developed this algorithm that they developed themselves, in which we can control how the panels, the photovoltaic panels above the plants move, giving priority also to the well-being and the health of the soil of the plant and of the plant. So in this sense, the synergy between farming or agriculture and the collection of energy with the panels, it's in line. So there's no one that is like, because normally when they do this type of people tend to think of agrivoltaics, some of them think about like, okay, then I will have energy all of the time. I would just keep collecting energy and that will be my priority. However, with this algorithm that they developed, we can move the panels so we get energy, but we also protect the plant and the growing of the plant. And so there's the same importance between the health of the farming crops, of the plants, in our case, lemons, and the collection of energy. Right.
Ok, grazie. Qui dopo ho messo le tre domande che mi avevi chiesto, quindi
Mm.
partendo da quali sono, questo la sai anche tu, un po' la puoi vedere anche te, quali sono le differenze, lo abbiamo un po' accennato prima. I can try to put to imagine that is simple to understand what we already say. So, a sinistra, come si vede, Aleandra, i pannelli sono sopra le piante, come da voi. La soluzione di destra è quella che vedevamo anche prima, quindi intervalli, una fila di piante a una fila di pannelli. Da qui, secondo me, per tutti, anche per chi non è del settore, è facile capire come a livello di occupazione del suolo la vostra soluzione, quindi quella di sinistra, occupa lo stesso suolo sia per i pannelli che per le colture, quella di destra in realtà si potrebbero mettere tutte le piante da una parte, tutti i pannelli dall'altra, perché chiaramente i pannelli occupano una striscia e le colture un'altra, quindi c'è un utilizzo del suolo maggiore rispetto alla soluzione che avete applicato voi.
Okay, dammi un attimo che traduco. So what he's saying, as you can see, the two different main approaches to agrivoltaics, the one that we share and the one that iGreen and Simone helped us design and implement is the one on the left side. So when it says high, So you can see that the plants are right below the panels. They are under the panels. So in this sense, the land use that we do, so the territory that these panels occupy, is reduced. In the sense that it benefits also what we were saying, that renewable energies can be sometimes very land occupying intensive. However, it's not the only approach to agrivoltaics, and there's the other approach that is on the right side, in which you have the panels, and near the panels, but not rightly under the panels, you have the plants. So in this sense, you are occupying way more space for energy production, but you are keeping it also within the farming sector, because you're saying, okay, we are planting next to them, but actually the benefits of it are not the same. Right?
Qui, sempre seconda domanda, we have some benefits and plus about a real agrivoltaic system. So we have already talked about elevated solar panels. So it's simply to understand that more than panels are high, and more is better for the crops. And at the same time, more you go high, and more the project is expensive, because there is more ferro steel.
Mhm.
The second one, real agrivoltaic system reduces lo stress, quindi il microclima, qui chiedo aiuto ad Alessandra, si crea un
Se torno
microclima
a
più
diretta la faccio fare.
corretto al di sotto dei
No, le
pannelli.
mani gelate. Ma no,
La faccio
riunione.
io.
Aspetta un attimo, perché c'è una... Ok, ora, vai.
Ok? Quindi diciamo che i pannelli, oltre a proteggere anche dalla grandine, la pioggia quando è troppo caldo, quindi nel vostro caso in climi estremi, quindi dall'eccessivo calore, contribuiscono anche a creare un microclima al di sotto dei pannelli per le colture migliore, e questo permette alle piante di avere meno stress. Quindi
Okay, aspetta qua. So the important also benefit of the panels of the agrivoltaic system is, like, besides they protect the plants from bad weather, from storms, for everything that can happen to the plants, the panels actually help to create a microclimate for the plants. Right.
Ok, the third one, l'utilizzo dei macchinari, quindi puoi dire che il vostro progetto è stato progettato da noi su vostra richiesta, andando a dimensionare gli spazi, non solo altezze ma anche larghezze, per poter continuare a gestire le attività agricole che voi normalmente fate in ambito senza agrivoltaico. Quindi
Okay.
tutti i tipi di macchinari possono operare come se fosse un limoneto senza fotovoltaico.
So the thing of how they design these plants of agrivoltaics is that, like, you can round it and you can work on it if it's like a normal farming site. So the height, for example, of the trees will be very high, but the panels have been placed in a sense that they can allow an operate and normally taking care of the plants.
The fourth one, il discorso dell'ombreggiamento, quindi le colture, qui si parla solo di che non vanno mai in ombra, e quindi è un po' legato all'altezza. È chiaro che si poteva fare un impianto anche più basso di 1 metro, perché comunque il trattore passava ugualmente, ma le esigenze della pianta, per poter non mandarle troppo in ombra, hanno dovuto rendere necessario di alzarlo ulteriormente. Quindi le colture non vanno mai eccessivamente in ombra, allo stesso tempo hanno l'irraggiamento solare, le colture, mi raccomando, non i pannelli, necessari per le crescite delle piante.
Mhm. So again, we are talking about the synergies between farming and the photovoltaics collection of energy. And the good thing about this type of technology is that the crops are not shaded excessively. So the panels move according to the needs also of the plants. If they need to get some sun, the panel will move to allow that. So we can also show that not only energy is a priority, but we are fully creating the best conditions for the plants to grow.
Five è quello che abbiamo detto fondamentalmente prima, quindi il terreno, se lì sono, diciamo una stupidaggine, 1,5 ettari di terreno, quell'ettaro e mezzo rimane tutto totalmente coltivabile come se non ci fossero i pannelli perché sono appunto stati messi al di sopra. Quindi quella slide con le due immaginine che avevo messo, ecco, questo è un po' il punto.
So the good thing about this type of design of technology of implants is that like land remains exactly as if the panels were not there. So you can still farm it and you can still take care of it as a normal land, but you have this thing, which is an additional thing, but they allow for a normal functioning of a farming site.
Ok, the last one è il discorso del risparmio idrico, quindi il recupero dell'acqua, che è un tema molto importante, un po' collegato sempre al punto prima. I pannelli, garantendo anche una protezione dall'ambiente esterno, permettono di avere un microclima che non va mai come dire, ad essere eccessivamente caldo e quindi grazie alla temperatura che rimane più bassa sarà possibile utilizzare meno acqua, sarà necessario irrigare di meno e di conseguenza risparmiare anche acqua. Questo è uno dei punti più importanti dell'agrivoltaico, chiaramente con sistemi di irrigazione digitale e a
So
goccia.
he's saying that one of the main points, the most important points of agrivoltaics is that it helps us to save water because of, he was saying before, and you saw in the pictures, if you have the panels right above the plants, what you manage to do is create this microclimate in which you don't need that much water to make the plant grow. So what you do is like you reduce this, and if you mix it together with the smart irrigation systems, you manage to have a land that is less water consuming. That also is a nice thing regarding now climate change and the situation of dryness that we have in Sicily, for example. So it's a very nice point that the agrivoltaic systems, the real ones, manage to do for the plant. Because if you don't have it right above, as he was mentioning before, and you have it just on the side, you don't manage to create that microclimate. So actually the benefits of the water saving of this system, you cannot enjoy them. Ok,
Ok.
fatto. Mhm.
Questa slide è, puoi semplicemente, secondo me, dire che oltre a tutti i punti di cui abbiamo parlato precedentemente nella slide prima, nel vostro specifico caso si è scelto anche di fare questo impianto per poter fare sperimentazione e un esempio è la scelta di prevedere metà impianto con i pannelli classici e metà con i pannelli bifacciali, quindi che anche sotto, diciamo, producono un po' di energia con il potere riflettente delle reti antigrandine che verranno installate chiare dal lato di quei pannelli, mentre verranno messe quelle scure classiche nei pannelli normali, proprio per fare sperimentazione e vedere come reagiranno sia le piante con due tipi di reti differenti, di colori differenti, quindi non è solo un fatto di colore, ma la rete bianca chiaramente fa passare più luce all'interno delle piante, allo stesso tempo riflette e dovrebbe garantire anche una maggiore producibilità elettrica. Quindi questo dividere l'impianto a metà è un'ulteriore caratteristica del vostro impianto del voler fare sperimentazione in campo.
Okay. So he was basically explaining what is here because I asked them to talk about what makes our implant different, our system different to the rest of the agrivoltaics that you can find in other territories, to show actually why do we care so much about the health of the soil, about the health of the plants, but also about the energy that we are generating with the panels. And the good thing about this, I mean, you can read it yourself, is that we will also have, and we have some space for experimentation because this is a pretty recent, innovative and new technology. So we don't know exactly how would it work. But what we have is that like we have a division in the land that we are managing. So we have some of the panels are bifacial. So you have both sides of the panels collecting energy. There you have another part where it's monofacial, so there's only one part collecting energy. So these combined with what he mentioned, these hail-proof covers for different types and colors, these allow us to test how can we increase electricity production due to the reflectivity of the light color mesh and the agronomic results. So we will be able to measure how much the panels move, how does this affect our energy production, also always taking care, as I was saying before, for the health of the farming crops, of the plants, of the lemon trees. So we will be able to acquire some new data about this very innovative type of technology to see how can we improve it better. Ok.
Ok, and dopo ho messo solo qualche immagine, quindi you can find the detailed project and
You check on our website also. You can see some information. We have it also in English. I can send it on the chat later. And these are some pictures of it.
se vuoi c'è il video,
Okay, we can watch it. Yes.
possiamo provarlo?
Bye.
Vediamo se va.
Bye. Bye. So this is actually what we've been talking about these past 10, 15 minutes. This is the site, and here you can see our photo agrivoltaics implant. So you can see they are pretty high because we were saying we want them to not mess with the farming of the plants. And since we are planting lemon trees, this will be pretty high. I think the lowest one is 4 meters, if I remember correctly, or 5 meters. So you can see also how, like, compared to the land that it's surrounding this implant. And now you cannot see the trees, but here below there will be planted a lot of lemon trees. And it's a very rural area, which was historically dedicated to farming. But since farming, now we can answer those questions. Since farming, it became a less economic activity, let's say. I mean, most of you know that like it's not very, how to say, efficient in terms of profit. Also because of another economic issues. So people starting to look for alternatives to regenerate the soil or like to produce sites economic activities. So here you can see all the panels. Ok, grazie.
Io ho finito, se può andare bene.
Yeah, we can open the floor for some questions if you have 2-3 minutes before leaving. And actually they were asking, ci stavano chiedendo qual è la distanza orizzontale dei tracker.
Allora, l'interasse, quindi vediamo se... No, qua non te lo riesco a far vedere. Diciamo che, se proviamo a fare così, sia questa distanza qui, sia quella tra le due file, è un quadrato perfetto. Sono 5 metri, che è quello che ci avete chiesto voi per la vostra esigenza di agronomica, quindi...
So it's 5 meters between rows and also between, it's like perfect squares of 5 meters. And we asked them because of our need for the farming part of it.
Ti potrei far vedere, se può essere carino, anche le foto dell'inaugurazione. Questa è un
Because
po'...
we hosted the opening, we celebrated the opening of the site 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I think.
At the beginning of November.
Okay, so this is part of our team and iGreen team, the president, and also people from the AIAS association, from the Italian Association of Elevated Agrivoltaics, Sustainable.
Diciamo che qui vedi un po' perché avete già iniziato a mettere le piante, quindi dal video non si vedeva, qui ci sono già
Yeah,
le
you can
piante.
see here that the small plants are already planted because the video was taken before. And this is the iGreen system team.
Vabbè, basta, dopo andiamo alla cena, è meglio non mettere più di cose.
Yeah, no, that's very good. Okay. They have another question, which is the system tested in rotating crops and polycultures? Se il sistema si può testare in le coltivazioni, cioè in diverse coltivazioni in policolture.
Sì, diciamo
In
che
rotazione di colture, scusa.
Diciamo che questo sistema è tendenzialmente adatto a tutte le colture arboree, quindi parliamo di frutta, alberi da frutta, vigneti e anche i vigneti. I sistemi invece che vengono normalmente messi sulle colture estensive, quindi mais, erba medica, queste cose qui, tendenzialmente per i motivi di prima vengono messi bassi e una fila di pannelli intervallata. Quindi la domanda è sì, ma vuol dire che voi avete fatto la scelta di fare un impianto che costa di più perché è molto più complesso, però per fare una vera integrazione con la parte agricola ed è il primo in Italia, lo puoi anche dire che siete i primi ad aver
So
fatto.
the answer is yes. Um, so the answer is yes, but we decided to make it specifically on some specific trees, on some specific plants. And this is actually the first one that is in Italy. If here, normally you can also see it with si dicono vigneti, with the
Vineyard. Vineyard,
again,
si pare.
vineyards, yes, for the grape, for the wine cultivation. So you can also see them with that. Okay, I see some aspects. Okay, this is more than a comment than a question, I think. You can open your mic if you want, Monica, because it will be easier. And this is the last, these are the two last questions that Simone can answer because then he has to leave. He has another appointment. So, Monica, if you want, you can open your mic, uh, or I can read it out loud. So in Portugal right now, she's saying there's a large photovoltaics project that aim to destroy natural landscapes. And instead of using built structures, channels to be shared with solar panels, I guess crop plants can indeed benefit from this, but less so existing oaks trees. Okay, so okay. And she's asking on the build aspect of it, how deep are the foundations and the materials? Do they resist to animal impact? Quindi ci sta chiedendo quanto sono profonde i pilastri e se possono resistere all'impatto animale o ai venti e così.
Allora, a memoria non te lo so dire, mi sembra 1,5 metri e voi avete anche un terreno molto particolare con la roccia, quindi è difficile piantarli, ma poi dopo non si muovono più, quindi rispetto alle nostre zone si va giù di meno, da noi andiamo a 3 metri e le strutture, a differenza di quasi tutti gli altri paesi europei, in Italia ci sono delle norme molto stringenti da rispettare, quindi la struttura è stata progettata sia per rispondere alle norme, sia perché deve garantire la tenuta col vento, queste
Mm.
cose qui.
So, in other parts of Italy, they can arrive until 3 meters below the soil. In Sicily, here, in particularly in our land, in our where it was constructed, it was a little hard. So we made 1.5 meters, which is more than enough. And yes, they can resist to wind. And animals, there are not so much so big animals on the area, so we haven't tested on that. And then there's another question, if you would recommend these type of implants for countries in the north, like Estonia or Lithuania, and if you have any other experience with that.
Allora, diciamo che in realtà non è, cioè questo tipo di applicazione lo si può applicare ovunque, è la coltura che comanda, quindi se in Estonia ci fossero i limoni, faccio per dire, si potrebbe applicare. Noi siamo tra l'altro
Saying that
stati.
if you would have lemons from Estonia, you may have this type of implant, specifically this type, which is the one that we are saying, but he doesn't know if you are able to plant lemons there because of the climate conditions.
Sì, diciamo che c'è qualcosa in Lituania, siamo stati proprio a Vilnius in rappresentanza dell'Italia ad un evento è un progetto Interreg, che forse voi capite meglio di me del nostro
So in
comune.
Vilnius, there was a hosting for an Interact project, and they were there as experts. So there's something in Vilnius and in Lithuania happening. You may want to check those type of events.
Sì.
Yeah, the sun part of it is quite important. So there's another question, but it's pretty deep. So I will say that maybe we can send it by email, and then we can send the question, the answers back because
proprio 2 minuti che alle 5 devo parlare al
Sì,
nostro
no, per
convegno.
questo, perché ci stanno chiedendo quanto è costato, quanti anni sono di investimento, cioè per recuperare l'investimento e quanto CO2 viene prodotto.
Ti rispondo a questo al volo, cioè il costo io non ne parlo perché sono cose vostre, quindi non so neanche
Pagare.
se lo posso dire. Il
Io non
ritorno
li so
dell'investimento
nemmeno, quindi
sopra il milione, possiamo dire così, un po' più di 1 milione, e dipende poi tantissimo dal contesto, però ci vuole sicuramente un po' più di 1 milione. Il tempo dipende molto se ci sono contributi o meno, può variare tra i 4 e i 10 anni. E il discorso della CO2, non mi ricordo i valori, ma mi sembra che siano, no, non ricordo
ok.
quanto, comunque tanto, ecco. Ovviamente c'è una riduzione importante che non è dato dall'agrivoltaico ma dai pannelli, ecco. Quindi 1 megawatt di produzione solare, che poi in realtà è quasi 1,5 gigawatt all'anno, equivale a X tonnellate di CO2 risparmiata. Adesso non ho la formula e i conteggi sotto mano.
So he's saying that it will cost around, but is of course this is private data that we cannot share, also because particularly we don't have it. But it's gonna above the million. How many years still not calculated? I mean, it depends also your other economics activities and how much do you manage like to get back from the energy production and how much you regenerate. He's saying that he need to check the data, the specific data. But if you have any other specific questions that you want to ask Simone, you can write them in the chat and I will let him know and I will report back in any case the answers to you. Now we have to move on because he has another appointment and we also have other speakers. So thank you Simone, grazie per questo
Thank you
momento.
everybody and buona continuazione.
Grazie, grazie. Okay, thank you. I know this is a pretty interesting topic, but we have other two very interesting topics and other speakers that I would love to welcome. So right now we have Giuseppe. I don't know if you're here with us. Hello.
Hello everybody, hello Alejandra.
Hi, so the floor is yours. I will just introduce that you are a researcher at the University of Naples, Federico II, in industrial engineering. And now you can tell us what do you do, what you work, and what do you have for us. You don't need my translation, right?
No. Okay,
Great.
do you see screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, just a second. No. Okay, perfect. Okay, so thank you again, Alejandra, for the presentation. Today I will show some perspective about the building situation, presenting also some of my research. In particular, I will talk about the optimization of the building's energy performance, starting from studies on the single building up to the urban scale. All these works have been developed within the Department of Industrial Engineering at the University of Naples, Federico II, and they focus on how we can improve the energy efficiency of the buildings, starting from the single building up to communities and to entire urban districts. So, okay, just to introduce the topic, starting from a broader perspective, energy consumption worldwide is still heavily influenced by economic sectors such as agriculture, industry, transports, residential buildings. In particular, during the last years, the trends show that the energy consumption are of around 40% for buildings, 34% for transport, 21% for industries, and respectively of 4% and 3% for non-energy uses and agriculture. So to reduce the energy consumption, each of these sectors is currently undergoing a profound energy transition. Just analyzing it step by step, in agriculture, electrification is becoming increasingly important along with the adoption of agrivoltaics, biogases derived from agricultural wastes, and more efficient, for example, irrigation systems. About the industry, the industrial sector is working toward electrifying production processes, integrating high temperature heat pumps, using green hydrogen, improving energy efficiency through, for example, heat recovery, digitalization, circular economy. Moreover, transport sector, about the transport sector, we are experiencing a large shift
Wait, wait for a second, because I feel like someone is not seeing the presentation. I am seeing it though, but if you can, okay, now you see it. Okay,
yes,
nothing.
I saw the comment.
You can keep going.
Okay.
Sorry.
So about instead the transport sector, we know that right now we are experiencing a large shift to electric mobility, together with the development of charging infrastructure and the use of, for example, alternative fuels such as biofuels, e-fuels, in particular for aviation and shipping. And we are also strengthening the public transport and shared mobility. The last but not least, the residential sector is rapidly evolving through the adoption of heat pumps, building retrofits, rooftop photovoltaic with electric energy storage systems, and the deployment of smart energy management tools. These contexts show a clear message that buildings and the way we manage them play a central role in the global energy transition, as they are one of the most impacting energy consumers. So, but the global energy consumption is expected to still grow, and in particular the energy consumption linked to the buildings, due to urbanization first, and to the increasing lifestyle demands of the modern societies. Therefore, one of the challenge of these 100 years is to reduce the energy consumption while improving the comfort and sustainability in buildings. So the main questions that we need to ask ourselves and that we need to carry forward in the research are: what advanced energy efficient technologies can we implement at the building level? How can we integrate renewable energy systems, passive design strategies, smart energy management? To address these questions, it is possible to distinguish three different but interconnected levels, because in fact we can work starting from the single building, but we can move forward scaling up the optimization to the district or the city level up to the urban scale. How? Developing policies or governance models for the energy optimization. So all of these are each one interconnected between them, and so it is important to work on each single level. So starting from the single building scale, I will just show some examples of mine works, or some possibilities about optimization at the different levels. So starting from the single building scale, improving energy performance is extremely important, of course, because efficient buildings reduce operational cost, improve comfort for the occupants, and also can lower environmental impacts linked to the energy. So there are two levels of intervention in this case. The first one is to reduce the energy requirement of the building. How? Intervening on the building envelope, for example, to reduce the energy consumption that you need. In addition to the conventional solution that I just showed before, there are also different possibilities to investigate different strategies. For example, including bioclimatic technologies that are technologies that exploit the variation in climatic condition to, for example, in this case, reduce the energy request. Moreover, the second possibility is to intervene on the systems with the objective of reducing the energy consumption in this case. For example, using an innovative method that can be exploited by the new technologies also in the houses, and that is called for, in this case, model predictive control. So just an example of the application of bioclimatic technologies. In particular, they are passive solutions. For example, in this case on the right figure, it is possible to see the application of a double skin facade which consists in the addition of a fully glazed external layer to the building facade. While on the left, it is possible to see the application of skylights, fully glazed structure to cover the courtyard of a building where it is present. And here, in this study, we studied the application of this to a building, showing that with this new configuration that provide the application of double skin facades and skylights, it is possible to reach to achieve a significant energy saving up to 21.5% on the heating demand, and the reduction also of the cooling demand of around 12.9%, showing how passive technologies, when properly designed, can have a strong positive effect on the energy demand. Moreover, in another study, we proposed a second strategy that involves an intelligent control system, where here I developed and tested a model predictive controls system based on artificial neural networks, where the goal was to optimize the heating operation, and so the heating cost linked to the system in a nearly zero energy building, also considering and with the aim of maximizing the comfort for the occupants. So in this case, the model predictive control logic works to predict the future thermal behavior of the occupants and so of the building to adjust the heating operation in a proactively mode. The results showed a clear improvement compared to the traditional control strategies that can be seen as the stair in the figures, compared to the square of the optimal solution proposed by this technology, considering also the possibility of having different energy costs. For example, analyzing the 31 of January with a different cost of 0.25 euro per kilowatt hour or 0.40 euro per kilowatt hour, it is possible to study how the algorithm goes to optimize the control and so the scheduling of the on-off of the system to optimize the heating cost, but also considering to maintain the same comfort for the occupants, reaching also a reduction, for example, in the 28th of February, of the 26% of the cost. So this was the first level, the building level, but we can also work on the building interaction, so to a greater scale. For example, working on nearly zero energy community. How? This is important to understand what happens when buildings interact with each other. In particular, the concept of nearly zero energy community means that groups of buildings work together to minimize their energy demand and to maximize the exploitation of local renewable energy sources. For example, here in starting from a district that can be seen here, there are 5 different typologies of building that are recurring. So starting to model them and to simulate their behavior, it is possible to create the entire district to study their energy consumption. How? There is an hourly energy balance from the electric point of view, where the whole district is considered as one single building. So considering with a multi-objective optimization, how to evaluate different configuration and combination of design variables, retrofit configurations, to optimize the whole district and to study also, if it is possible, the installation of several renewable to be installed. So once that the optimization has been performed and so that the different possible configuration can be showed, it is possible to impose several constraints. For example, regarding the sustainability of the solutions, sustainability that can be seen in different ways as an energy sustainability, environmental sustainability, economic sustainability, how the user wants to perform it, and so to investigate more specific solutions. For example, here imposing a sustainability index at a minimum of 85 and considering different design variables fixed, the study choose from 1 million of possible solution, 709 solution to investigate more specifically. And showing that with the application of renewable-based solutions, it is possible to achieve an high sustainability target of also 90-95% with an investment cost for each user of the community, so for each apartment, between 12 and 16,000 euros per apartment, highlighting how the importance of looking moreover than the individual buildings is important, as the energy cooperation between each user within the community leads to a better results than an isolated action, also from the economic point of view. So the last possibility where we can intervene on the buildings is on the urban scale. But here the challenge becomes even more complex because the data availability is really limited and the number of buildings instead is extremely large. So to work on this level, the methods that have to be implemented must be, first of all, fast, replicable, and also sufficiently accurate. Because several approaches in this case from me and also my research group have been analyzed, including an instrument that can be very efficient for this kind of application, that are the GIS software, geographical information software, that links geographical information to also alphanumeric data, and so applying it to several approaches, for example, archetype-based approaches like the one that I said also before, or also to using ad hoc algorithm to design buildings fast. So starting from the first one that is similar to the approach that have been used in the community design, it is possible using the GIS software to study entire urban areas and to understand the recurrent typologies of buildings from a point of view of the construction or from the intended use of the buildings area. For example, for this district, there were 4 different kind of archetypes. 4 different kind of archetypes that have to be simulated, and starting from this simulation, it is possible then to simulate the entire district by considering different correction coefficient that can then perform the simulation also for the other buildings. Finally, thanks to the GIS, it is also possible to map the whole district. With this method, it is possible to drastically reduce the computational time while still providing reliable results. In fact, using the archetype localization, many different buildings can be classified, and their map can be done. See here an example of different uses urban energy maps, starting from heating, cooling, lighting, and equipment. Using the GIS tool, it is possible to map the whole districts and to see the criticalities. In fact, thanks to link between the visual information and the alphanumeric data, it is possible to facilitate the visualization of the interrelationship between the elements of the urban context, because these maps can help to identify, first of all, the main problems in the building stock, intended like this building has the higher energy consumption. Why? And then you can investigate the reasons. The main potential improvements, and the areas where renewables energy can be cover part or all of the demand. So you can create, for example, a nearly zero energy community. So in this way, urban energy maps are crucial for supporting municipalities, policymakers, giving them a clear overview of where to prioritize interventions. Here, another example of in our work where we also exploited the use of GIS software to create an interactive urban energy maps where clicking on the building you can obtain, for example, their building energy performance. And this is also really useful for the governance of the whole cities. So, in conclusion, the aim of this presentation is to emphasize the importance of an integrated approach to building energy performances and to combine the technological innovation, policy development, and urban planning. Because while intervention at the single building level are essential, it is crucial to work also on different scales, as there is a greatest potential for energy saving with this scale up. Urban energy mapping, the importance of urban energy mapping tools and the community-based energy strategies that offers a powerful way to coordinate efforts and to ensure interventions. But it is really important to highlight that to implement all these solutions, the incentive mechanism will continue to play a fundamental role, as without money you can't do anything. And so thank you for the attention.
Thank you, Giuseppe. I think
Thank
it's a great ending also for connecting to the next panel. Before moving to that, if there's a question on the chat that maybe you can quickly answer so we don't.
Yes.
So it's how can we best translate this data into actionable steps towards near zero energy buildings? How do we translate all of this data?
So it is important to say that each one of these actions are already considered by our governments because they the incentivation to the for example insulation of our walls in the buildings to substitute our systems, heating, cooling system, to implement more efficient solution is already considered by our governments and already incentivized. But many times it happens that sometimes, not many times, it happens that many solutions that are proposed by our governments do not consider the differentiation of the climate. So this is really important to be considered because, for example, I live in Naples. Okay, so Naples is a temperate climate, while we live in, for example, North Europe has a different climate. Northern Europe, Northern Italy, but a colder climate. So, but for example, in Italy, all these differences in the climate is not considered also for the incentivation. So when you want to create a nearly zero energy building, you have to consider all these conditions because, for example, in a colder climate, you have to be isolated from the outside because you don't want to lose your heat. But in a climate like Naples, for example, or Palermo, so the southern city of Europe, you have a hot climate, and so you want to lose this heat. All of these conditions have to be considered to a better livability of the buildings.
Okay, thank you. If anyone else has a question, write it on the chat, but I will suggest that we move on to our next and last speaker. Thank you, Giuseppe, for all this very interesting research. And I want to grab on with something that you were saying, that it's important to make individual interventions, but when we got together and we make something strategically planified, it works better. And also this is kind of the nexus for the next speaker, Marcello, that is here with us, in the sense, hi. How can we make this accessible for the population? How can we come together and also increase our governance in terms of renewable energy and the energy that we use and we consume every day? So I will leave the floor to you. Let me know if you want me to share my screen with your presentation. If you want
I can try myself, and then if it doesn't work.
Great, thank you. And also if you want to say a couple of words of who you are, what you do.
Sure. Just I will technical things first. Let's see.
Sure.
I don't know if I can because I'm connected through the browser. So
if not, I can do it. No worries. I have it on hand. So if you want, and you could just tell me when to pass the slide.
Okay. Yes, okay. Please do. Thank you.
Of course. My pleasure.
Okay. So I will start. Hello, everybody. My name is Marcello. I am currently doing a PhD in ecological transition in Palermo. I am an energy engineer, and I also work in buildings like Giuseppe. But currently, my topic of research is energy communities. So I won't go so much into the technical part of it, which is quite trivial compared to what Giuseppe explained. I will mostly focus on renewable energy communities as tools for the transformation of societies. So if you can move on. What is an energy community is the first question that and will try to answer. It is quite a popular topic right now, but let's say that energy communities have always been around since at least the beginning of 20th century. In 1920, for example, many hydroelectric cooperatives or any kind of project that tried to bring electricity to places where the national grid was not yet arrived. They were forming cooperatives to collectivize the use of energy and manage energy in a collective way. So community energy or energy communities is not a novel concept. It can be referred in a broad sense to any kind of community-based initiative that involves the energy system, in which a community wants to manage the energy they produce and the energy they consume. I put as example those I told you in the beginning of 20th century, but also especially in the north of Europe, countries like Belgium, Germany, or France have a lot of energy cooperatives from the 70s and 80s. And RESCOP is a coalition of energy cooperatives in Europe, but also any kind of projects such as microgrids. Or another one I want to tell you, because once I worked in Navarra, apparently there is a form of community organization in which people did community works like collecting wood for the town, and once a year they did collect the wood, and the wood was public. So this also could be considered a form of energy community in a broad sense. But more recently, if you can pass the slide, the term has been used for after a European definition made by the European Union, in which within the clean energy package, a set of reforms on the energy transition especially, two definitions of energy communities were established. The first one is the renewable energy community, and the other one is citizen energy community. I will focus on the first one, but I will now explain both. So a renewable energy community is basically a new market actor, a new legal entity, which can take the form of a cooperative, an association, or even other kind of legal entities recognized by the national regulations, based that they are open and voluntary. The participation cannot be closed, and it needs to be. That's why cooperatives and associations are the most used typologies of legal entities. So these entities have to be effectively controlled by shareholders, so be democratic in the form of governance, located in the proximity of renewable energy projects. This is the most important part. Renewable energy communities deal only with renewable energies, and they need to be located in the proximity of people that consume this renewable energy. Then after, we can basically call it energy sharing. These renewable energy communities are one way to make legal the share of energy within people and within one production unit, let's say solar panels, and people that live close, or people or companies or public buildings, but let's say places of consumption of electricity that live close to the solar panels or any other renewable source. One other important part of renewable energy communities is that, which is written in the definition, is that the benefits must be environmental, economic, and social for the community rather than profit. So the structure of renewable energy communities in the European Union have to be no profit, basically. That doesn't mean that they cannot have revenues, but these revenues have to be shared within the members of the community, and in some cases they have limit to prohibit that some companies or some people get profit from these kind of projects, especially One way to do this is that, for example, companies which make their work on the energy field, such as retail companies that sell electricity, they cannot participate in a renewable energy community. And then one last thing is that the renewable energy community, participating in a renewable energy community, cannot impede your rights and obligation as an energy consumer. So they cannot force you, for example, to change the electricity provider. That's still a choice of the energy community member. The citizen energy community has a very similar definition. The only big difference is they are not limited to the local level. They can be much wider, regional or even national, and they are not limited to renewable energy. They can, for example, sell electricity which is not completely renewable. Okay, if you can move on.
Okay, sorry, I got a big ahead before.
Okay.
No, sorry that I moved to the slide before, sorry.
Yeah, no problem. There is no rush. So renewable energy communities, as I told you, this is the main focus. The main point, the basic principle of this kind of projects is renewable generation. So from solar panels, wind turbines, but also in some cases it could be hydraulic power. The only point is you need to produce, if you produce electricity and share it or sell it, it needs to be renewable. Then again, the local dimension, which is again the people that join the energy community and use the energy which is shared within it, they have to be close to the plant. Then of every nation has a different framework. I will not get into the detail. If you have questions, I can try to answer some nation. I don't know all of them. And then the energy sharing is probably one of the central points. Again, normally you have renewable energy generated at some point, as you can see in the image, and multiple people that can benefit from it. These people is people that in many occasions either don't have the money to put solar panels, for example, on their roof on their own, or they don't have the possibility because they don't have rooftop available, or they live in rent, so they are not owners of their property, but they can join on energy communities and get the benefit from this energy sharing. Then again, other basic principles are the collectivization of benefits. So again, you cannot have profit in this kind of projects, and the democratic governance. You need to have assemblies, and all the decision about, for example, how to share the benefits, the economic benefits, have to be taken by democratic decisions. I focus mostly on renewable energies, but it is not the only activity that energy communities can have. They can also, for example, make retrofits of buildings. All the activities that Giuseppe was explaining before, they can be activities that energy communities can do. You can have collective purchases of, for example, electric vehicles or charging points for electric vehicles. But also, yeah, with all the benefits that you get, the economic benefits that you get from the collective solar panels, let's say, you can share and divide them to the community also with social projects, for example. They don't have to be necessarily related to renewable energy. The only point, again, is it is not for profit, and the benefits have to be for the community, the local community. If you can move on, the last slide. This that I explained is the European framework on energy communities, but also this framework has to be transposed into the national norms. It is mandatory, so each nation has to integrate a definition of renewable energy community and citizen energy community. Normally, it is a translation in most of nations. Sometimes you get also addition, but they are minor. But especially what is to be introduced by each nation is an enabling framework to support the development and the creation of renewable energy communities and citizen energy communities. This involves financing mechanisms, so incentives mostly, because again, you need to have the money to buy this infrastructure first, and especially for community projects, this is grassroots project. This is a big barrier. Access to information. Many people don't know what energy communities are. Many people believe that energy is a difficult topic that only engineers can deal with, which is not true if correctly explained, and there is no need to know everything. So information is available and need to be accessed by multiple people. Direct support to grassroots projects with one-stop shops, for example, or offices that can give the information and help, for example, do a feasibility study for a PV installation. And then, very important, tackle energy poverty and vulnerabilities, because in some cases, these kind of projects, for example, cooperative, have big economic barriers for entrance, which is still lower than buying your own PV panels, but they are barriers. So they need, for example, to talk with social services on local governments to try to collaborate and involve people in economic vulnerability into these projects, and especially to share the benefits of these projects to the whole community. And then one last thing, which is very important, is the supervision over unfair practices. Because, as I told you, renewable energy communities have to be no profit, are meant to be outside, not outside of the market, but they are not the market, into the energy market for a profit meaning. Energy companies should not be part of renewable energy communities, but they are finding ways to, let's say, get into this kind of projects, or at least get some part of incentives or promote themselves and have advertisement through the promotion of energy communities, which is not the original idea of these projects. So there need to be supervision, at least denounce these unfair practices. That's the presentation. If you have questions, I'm here to try to answer.
Okay. Thank you so much, Marcello. It was super interesting. Actually, I didn't know that you could do more things than just buy the energy, which is pretty cool, I guess. So if anyone has a question, we can address it right now. If you have a couple of minutes, then we can stay. I will stop sharing though. Okay. And I'm checking in the chat. Okay, there was one question for, I guess it was for Giuseppe before, or not, I don't know. Your energy research, it depends for the microclimate of the territory and how old is the building. So I guess it was for Giuseppe, yeah. If you want to quickly address that.
Yes, I'm still here. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Alejandra, yeah?
Yes, yes.
Yes, I can still answer. Yeah, it is linked to the microclimate. Yes, this is one of the variables that have to be considered. So it is important to take into account the climate. And how old is the building is another answer, is another question that has to be answered, because it depends, starting from how old is the building. It is supposed that the technology, both in the construction of the building and on the systems that are used in the building, is old. So there is a greater way to intervene on this building. So yes.
Okay. Great, thank you. So
You're
there are a couple of questions for the energy communities. I guess they were referring to the countries, Finland, Sweden, and Estonia, maybe because my geography is pretty bad. they are bad for energy communities. Do you know why? I can share again the map for the last slide if you want, why you can answer.
Yeah. Yes, I forgot to mention, this map is from RESCOP, again, the coalition of renewable and of energy cooperatives, which I mentioned before. And this is specifically on the enabling frameworks of national countries and the transposition of this framework. So it's bad, not the transposition is bad in the sense which is sometimes missing, is not complete online. For example, some countries don't have the definitions yet. That doesn't mean that they don't have energy communities in these countries, but that according to RESCOP, then there are a series of indicators that are missing in the legislation. I don't know specifically about those countries, but I put the link in the slide. I think you will share.
We will share them with them after the meeting.
So you can access them, and you have the information explained on why they believe these countries are different. For example, I see Italy here as one good practice, but right now they just cut the incentive schemes that they promised like 2 days ago. So yeah, okay, it's a good legislation, but there is no funding. So each country has a very specific situation. Why the difference? I saw also another question.
The other question, yeah.
Yeah. I think one big thing is historical reasons, especially for energy cooperatives, which is, let's say, the oldest version of energy community which is established. It has developed mostly in northern countries after the 70s, the 80s, together with the anti-nuclear movements. So I think it's mostly because in Germany, for example, or France, they have a lot of energy cooperatives, then they can also adapt to this new format, let's say, of renewable energy communities, especially citizen energy communities, actually. But then again, it depends a lot on the country if it has funding or not, if they have a supportive legislation that enables or not the energy communities. I work with energy communities in Italy, in Spain, and Poland, and in Poland, for example, they could not create energy communities inside the cities. So this limits a lot of people accessing, which, I mean, cities are always more difficult than outside for many reasons, but in Poland they could not create it. So yeah, I don't know. I don't have one question for one answer for this.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and there's another one, the last one, which is for you, I guess, also, which is your preservation is for the energy, and how do we use it in what is the proper way? I don't know if I really get the question. I don't know if you do. Or if the person that wrote the question can clarify.
I'm not sure. Preservation of energy and how to use it in a proper way. Okay, this is a topic I didn't touch, but if I understood it correctly, it's quite important because we speak about energy production a lot, renewable energies a lot as a part of energy transition, and of course they are very important, but there is a big issue on consumption, and especially in Europe in general, most people consume too much. We are above, let's say, the planetary boundaries. We are above the amount of consumption that we should have to maintain climate change under the patterns that we signed up for as countries, I'm meaning, not as people. So there is one thing that we need to do as societies, which is reduce the consumption. So change probably the economic system that we live in. And energy communities are not directly a way to do this, but basically you create assemblies that work on local level and try to speak about energy and manage energy on their own. So this is a place where you can try to build a different future on the energy system and change it, which pass through renewable energy, but also through energy efficiency and changes in behavior, for example.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for the answer. It's true that we are looking at the production of energy and the consumption of energy, but we also need to think of like what for are we creating this energy and who is using it. And actually, there's a very nice part of the movement of the growth, of economic growth. And there are some very nice researchers. I can suggest to read something of Marula Tsagaraki. She's pretty great regarding these issues of new renewable energy cultures also and the growth. So if you're interested in that and also like the impact on the environmental and social impact of energy, it's pretty great. Unfortunately, we don't have more time. So if there's no other questions, I want to get back to the question that was asked before about our land agrivoltaic implant because I got some data. So we should how much money I said it about 1 million. But we will be able to recover the investment in 7 years with the production of energy. We're also producing energy on a limited cost because we use some public funding for that. PNRR is called in Italian, so it's like a structural help from the government. So we have the limited price of the energy. We cannot sell it above. So 7 years, and we will generate enough energy for 400 families. So regarding the CO2 emissions, let me check. Yeah, he said we can cover 400 families through the production of 1.8 million kilowatts per year. So some specific data. Thank you. Thank everyone for being here. Thanks for the questions. Thank you, Marcello and Giuseppe. Already thank Simone. And thank all of you that are dedicated this 1 hour and a half to talk about this topic and wish you the best for the next panels and the next seasons of the course. So have a nice evening. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Ciao.